Hi all, good evening. My name's Debbie. I'm a Live for Love TV subscriber on YouTube. It's a very informative channel. So when you have a spare moment, please like, share and subscribe. Live for Love TV. Thank you.
Hi, Akuya here. I'm watching Live for Love TV. Live for Love TV, very educative program. Please subscribe, like and share. Bless up, Aya.
Welcome back to Live for Love TV. Today is the 12th day of the first month of the 22nd year inside the 21st century. Hope everyone's doing well out there. Now, today I think I'll talk again, I've done it a few times, but I think I'll talk again about the jibby jab. But today I'm going to do it from a conspiracy theorist perspective. Now, we all know conspiracy means a group or a few people, even two people or more, coming together to do a particular thing. For instance, three or four guys come together and decide that man X has to die. That's conspiracy to murder. So conspiracy, as you know, is numbers of people coming together, or groups of people, or even institutions. Now, is there a conspiracy? I've never addressed this before. So since I've never addressed the conspiracy end of it, no one's ever accused me of being a conspiracy theorist. But some people would say, maybe I need to get out a bit more. Maybe if I get out a bit more, people will start calling me a conspiracy theorist. Who knows? But what's very strange about the whole of this jibby jab thing now, I like to deal with facts. Excuse me. I like to deal with facts, not just what people say, oh, this is true and that's true, and you got to. I'm not talking about facts that everyone agrees on. Facts that my mind can take in and say, yeah, I see it now. It's clear to me and I can stand on it. Not just because somebody else has said it. Because when people pass these things around, and when you put the lights in their eyes, they instantly say, oh, well, it wasn't me that said it. I got it from X, or I got it from Y, or somebody told me this. And I said, well, you shouldn't have passed it around. When you can stand on something, then you start passing these things around. So I'm standing now to say, this is clearly a conspiracy. For instance, let's look at this. In the UK right now, they're saying that the National Health Service workers, I think by the 1st of April, which I think is April's Fool, so I don't know if they're having a laugh there, but by April, they all need to be jibby jabbed in order to keep the job they currently have. But as far as I understand, in the United Kingdom, the jibby jab is not mandatory. I'll say it again, the jibby jab is not mandatory. But if you're saying somebody has to take something to keep the job they already have, it is mandatory for them in that job. Am I right or am I wrong? Well, you can let me know. Because to me, that sounds like mandatory, but it's not mandatory. Or is it mandatory? I don't know. But anyway, if it is mandatory for them to keep their job, that they must have the jibby jab, the question goes after that, will they have to sign a consent form? The same consent form everybody else signs when they take the jibby jab. And if they do have to sign that consent form, then that doesn't sound very mandatory to me. Now, these are simple questions a little layman like me can ask. Anybody can ask. The newspapers can ask. All these highly paid journalists can, but they don't ask. Because as far as I'm concerned, they've proved to be part of that same conspiracy. The government conspiracy, the unions that are part of the National Health Service, and all the other unions around the country that are going along with it, they're part of that conspiracy. Whether it's the pharmaceuticals are part of that conspiracy, they're all part of a conspiracy. They're all conspiring to get the same result. That's what they're doing. Now, as I said before, you can't have it always. Why they don't forget the conspiracy and just make it mandatory, that everybody and their brother has to take the jibby jab? Why don't they do that? Why do they want you to sign a form or sign on the dotted line to say, you consent to something? Why would they need you to do that? That's always been a problem for me since the whole beginning of this thing. But now we're coming to the apex of it, where people's jobs are being lost and being taken away. You can't get on a plane without this, you can't get into this country without that. And yet it's not mandatory. It's not mandatory, but yet they want you to sign on the dotted line. It's a very, very strange situation. And anyone that doesn't see the conspiracy in that, and especially against the people who are not standing up against it, to say, this is wrong. I can take jab 1, jab 2, and booster, but I can still say it's wrong because I chose to take those 3. I chose to take it. But if my cousin says he doesn't want to take it, then I'm supporting him. You can't say that I'm an anti-jibby jab, even though I've taken 3, but I don't want to support what you're doing to force him to take it. You're going to call me an anti-jibby jab? That in itself is insane. But the questions that need to be asked are not going to be asked by the people because it's a conspiracy. This is what happens in conspiracies. When you've been around as long as I have, you've seen many conspiracies. Back from the day, I'm just going to veer off into something where there was a conspiracy with the, back in the UK in the late 70s, 80s, where they had a thing called the Sus Law, which was about 150 or 200-year-old law that was used for vagrancy and stuff like that. They turned it on young black males of that time. And there was a conspiracy right through the system, all the way through from the police, to the court systems, to the lawyers, to the judges. The whole thing conspired to put people behind bars on this ridiculous law of just having to suspect somebody of going to do something, and that was enough to put them in prison. Imagine that. You haven't done anything, but you're suspected of doing it. I mean, how can you prove your innocence when you're only being suspected of it, and that's a crime? Well, this is what conspiracy can do. And this is how this thing becomes very dangerous. But we're coming to the apex of this thing, as I say. We'll see on April Fool's Day if they really do decide that all these NHS workers that may not take the jibby jab, whether they'll put them out to grass. We'll see. And we'll see how many people support them. What's frightening is that people think because they have the jibby jab, they don't need to support those who don't have the jibby jab or don't want it. They're going to find themselves in deep, deep problems as time goes on. I could draw references to many things that happened throughout the centuries or throughout the years when people haven't supported one particular cause or another, thinking that they were not involved. And then just around the corner, they got themselves drawn into it and they can't understand how they're now being mistreated. That's how this thing works. Divide and rule. They separate you. They make you think you're all right while you're leaving your brother or your sister out there to face the music. And then later on, it becomes your turn. And some people will say you deserve it. I'm not going to go that far today, but I would say it's time for people, as I said before, to stand up and to see the conspiracy for what it is and to be men and be women and accept whatever comes. Doesn't matter what people say to you. You have to stand on rights. There's never been a time where you stand up for your rights and people just say, oh, you stood up for your rights. Oh, we like you. Therefore, look what happened in the 1960s with Martin Luther King. People were doing nothing more than wanting to eat or drink from a fountain or eat in a particular bar. Look at the things they had. People standing up for their rights and dogs were set on them. Now America would look at that and feel ashamed. But that was the whole government, the whole system that was behind that. All of them, every part of their institutions conspired together to bring this about. So don't be surprised that whenever you come up against these things, that the whole of this, the press and everybody conspire against you. That's how it goes. That's what's going to happen. And we'll see, as Mr. Obama says, he always used to like to say, well, let's see who's on the right side of history. Well, here we go again. Let's see who's on the right side of history, Mr. Obama. Take care, Live for Love TV.
One step more.